As a rule of thumb, if it floats and it's raceable, you'll probably find it here in Dubai. Located in the southwest corner of the Arabian Gulf, Dubai is the commercial centre of the United Arab Emirates. It's also one of the fastest developing cities in the world, and not just from an industrial standpoint. In recent years, tourism has gone through the roof, and ambitious developments such as Palm Island have helped thrust the city into the global spotlight. Indeed, this is a city where westernisation sits hand in hand with traditional Arabic culture. And it's not just the tourists who hail from overseas. 80% of Dubai's population are expatriates from across the globe, and the city is home to almost 200 different nationalities. But despite their passion for the contemporary, the people of Dubai have never forgotten their roots, not least when they're out on the water. The wooden dhow is an integral part of the area's history, and despite modern technology, these traditional sailing boats are enjoying somewhat of a renaissance. For many centuries before the oil boom of the 70s, Dubai thrived on pearl trade, and dhows were the vessel of choice for those sailors and pearl divers who helped shape the birth of economic growth in the region. And since its revival in the mid-80s, traditional dhow racing has become a hugely popular sport in the region. Since 1991, the Surban Air has been the flagship event of the dhow racing season. Tracing the homeward route, once followed by those pearl diving forefathers, the race takes sailors across 50 nautical miles of ocean from the island of Surban Air back to Dubai. While that caters for large 60-foot dhows, there's also a couple of feeder classes for smaller 22-foot vessels, and then these 43-foot longboats. Featuring 10-man crews, these mid-sized dhows have their own annual 3-race series, the final round of which takes place here in Dubai. Starting just offshore from one of the world's best hotels, the Burj Al Arab, the Jumeirah traditional dhow sailing race this year saw over 80 boats running along the coast to the finish line at Port Rashid. Built entirely by hand, the contemporary dhow is almost identical to the craft that sailed these waters hundreds of years ago. There are no speed logs, wind gauges or satellite computers here, which means that success is entirely down to the skill of the sailors on board. The 61 boat Abu Al Abiyad got off to the best start as the crew looked to wrap up the championship which they'd led coming into this final race. If choice of course is a crucial part of sailing, then it's everything in dhow racing. With no instruments, the skippers often crouch down with a breeze in their face to try and sense the best passage across the sea. As well as good local knowledge, sailors also need to be able to react even the most subtle of wind shifts by reading ripples on the waves. As the dhows picked up speed, the 92 boat of Al Raid started to give the leaders a run for their money. Although out of contention for the title, a good result here would put the crew into the top 5 overall for the championship. Also getting a good start was the 73 dhow of Mukassas. The crew members leaning precariously over the side to get the optimum balance for the wind direction. Other movable ballast comes from the large sandbags which can be dumped overboard to lighten the boats if the wind decreases. In the closing stages though, an Abu Al Abiyad has established a slender lead over the 92 boat of Al Rayed. Now within sight of the line with no chance of being caught, the crew are about to guide their teakwood dhow over the line for a victory that would guarantee them the overall title. So congratulations to Majid Atik Al Mahari and his crew, who led the race from start to finish. But Al Rayed had certainly played their part in this race, having kept the leaders honest throughout the entire race. Second place would easily be their best result of the season, a result which would rocket them up the table into 5th place overall. But what about the battle for third? Early on, the 73 dhow had been in contention, but a late surge by the 83 boat of Sardal meant that they were about to snatch the final place on the podium. Just a few feet ahead there of Mukassas, and it was an important move too, because that result was just enough to move Sardal up to 3rd place in the overall standings. Confirmation then of the final championship standings in the traditional dhow racing in Dubai. Let's hear from the victorious skipper.
والله السباق كان ممتاز صراحة من ناحية.
And as Majid explains, We started on a lower position on the start line, and we found ourselves with the best position and better wind. And thanks also now to the sail technology, which we're learning from overseas, we have a much quicker boat this season. So that's our roundup from the climax of this year's 43-foot traditional dhow racing here in Dubai.
Well, coming up next, we've got some action in the shape of homegrown heroes from the UK competing at the English National Surf Championships.